Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Money Codes. My name is Joel and I'm here to give you today's money code fix. And today we're going to be talking about charge-offs. Charge-offs, how they affect your credit score, how they impact your credit profile, what do you need to do to actually get it and remove it. There are some misconceptions between what is an actual charge-off and a collection. There are some subtle differences, and I want to make sure that after you go through this video, you not only know what a charge-off is, but exactly how to deal with it. So first things first, what is a charge-off? So very simply, when you get a loan, when you get a credit card, it starts off in good standing, meaning when you check your credit profile, you'll see it highlighted in green. It's not a derogatory account. It's in good standing. What typically happens is you go 30 days late, you go 60 days late, and then you go 90 days late. It's in 30-day increments. Every 30 days that you miss and you don't pay this loan or this credit card payment, you are hurting your credit profile more and more and more. Once you reach about 180 days, that's usually around the cutoff point. So after about 180 days, the designation of that account gets changed to charge off. And I have to say this very clearly, just because it shows as a charge off on your credit profile does not mean that you no longer owe that original creditor. So let's say you have a Capital One credit card with a balance for $5,000. After 180 days, Capital One is essentially going to say, I'm not going to be able to collect this $5,000 from Joel, so we need to just change this to a charge off. And that's really between Capital One and the IRS and the bookkeepers. The charge-off designation is more so internally for them. You still owe Capital One, okay? So I have to make that very clearly. You still owe the original creditor. The charge-off is mainly for them and their bookkeeping purposes. It's basically a tax write-off for them. So once that account is designated as a charge-off on your account, on your credit profile, you basically have over 7 years, 7.5 years actually, that if you do nothing for 7.5 years, it will fall off your credit profile. So you can see how this entire thing can destroy your credit profile. Why? Because you're going to have a 30-day, a 60-day, a 90-day, all the way up to 180 days. Remember, every time you add another 30-day late to your credit profile, you are digging yourself a deeper hole with your credit score. Not only that, once it changes to a charge-off, that impacts your score more. Now, the original creditor, so Capital One, for example, they may have the option to either hold on to this debt, but many times they'll actually sell it off to another debt collection company. So now you're going to have multiple late payments, you're going to have a charge-off account, and then you're going to have an additional third-party debt collection company that is going to be calling you, emailing you, sending you letters, harassing you. So you can see how by just one mistake can cause just a hellstorm of issues for you. But just because this is happening, you're not a horrible person. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone goes through things. Life happens to everyone. So you're not a bad person because you have a charge off. It's a mistake. We can learn from it and we can keep it pushing. So now let's figure out a strategy of how to deal with this charge off. So you and I as a consumer, we have something called the FCRA. So if you've been watching my videos for a while, you've heard me mention them quite a few times when dealing with disputing, when dealing with being able to acquire our credit profiles. These are the laws and the guidelines that protect you and I when it comes to situations like this. So you may have heard on the internet things like Section 609 or the 609 letter or the 611 letter. In a nutshell, Section 609 under the FCRA allows us to be able to acquire our credit profile. And then 611, and it's a slight difference, but 611 allows us to be able to challenge anything that is on our credit profile that is reporting inaccurately. So if you have something on your credit profile like a charge-off, like a collection, that account, technically speaking, may belong to you. That is fine. We're not disputing that. However, there are laws that state that if a creditor is going to report something to the credit reporting agencies, your Experian, your Equifaxes, your TransUnion, they have the right to report to these credit bureaus, but they have to report it 100% accurately. Not 98%, not 95%, not 85%, 100% accurately. Otherwise, under subsection 611 under FCRA, we can throw the flag out and say, time out, there's a problem here. It needs to either be corrected or it needs to be removed from our credit reports. What are your options as you proceed? Well, number one, you may want to wait it out. Remember at the top of the video, I said you have a little over 7 years when a derogatory account gets placed on your account. After about 7 years, it's going to fall off of your account naturally. Everybody's situation is different. So if you are not planning on buying something very quickly, if you don't have any ethical hangups, you may be able to just wait out the shot clock and that derogatory account will fall off your credit profile. I don't know if you're able to wait that out. I don't know if you have some time pressing goals that you're trying to do, but again, that is an option. Option number two is disputing. So this is how I mentioned before, under 609 and under subsection 611 under FCRA, we have the ability to go ahead and get our credit reports from the 3 major credit bureaus. If you don't have access to your credit profile, I recommend that you go to annualcreditreport.com. It is free. There should be a video on my channel that shows you how to get access to it. And during these COVID times, you're able to access your credit profile every week. There's also a link at the bottom of the description of this video, which is going to allow you to do a $1 trial to get access to all 3 of your credit reports. Now, I will say this, if you have multiple derogatory items that you're trying to dispute, let's say you have a couple of charge-offs, you have a couple of collections, a few late pays, and you're trying to clean up your credit profile, I highly recommend that you actually invest in getting a quality credit monitoring service for this purpose, because when you start disputing items, when things start falling off of your account, when things start getting updated, you want to make sure that you're able to see things in real time. So now let's say you went to either My FICO, or you went to Annual Credit Report, or you went to my link and you got access to all 3 of your credit reports, your Experian, your Equifax, and your TransUnion. Now I want you to be able to sit down, preferably with a highlighter if you can print it out. It may be a lot of pages, but who cares? I want you to go ahead and I want you to focus in, laser focus in on the derogatory items that are on your account. Right now we're talking about charge-offs. So I want you to pull up your charge-offs on all 3 of your credit reports, and I want you to be able to compare what's being reported on your Equifax, your TransUnion, and your Experian. So now the entire trick with this is, remember, it's not really a matter of this charge-off is mine. I did have a credit card with Capital One, so I guess it's mine. I give up now. No, this is a matter of, under subsection 611, we are now looking for inaccuracy. So I want you to check the spelling of your name. If you are married, if you've been divorced, if you are a junior, this happens all the time. If there's anything funny or anything that's not accurate with your name, I want you to highlight that. I want you to pay attention to the balances. Are they reporting a balance? If they assign this collection over to a third-party debt collection company and they're still reporting a balance, or they're still reporting a monthly payment under the charge-off, that's another discrepancy. That's another violation. I want you to highlight that. I want you to be very anal, very specific about what is on your credit profile as it pertains to this charge-off. Look at literally every date, every comma, every comment, every balance. You will come to find out, not only when it comes to this charge-off, but on your credit profile, I believe the percentage is over 60 or 70%, that most people, the majority of people right now, have errors and have problems on their credit profiles right now, and they're just oblivious. They're unaware of it. Once you find that issue, once you find that discrepancy or that error, now you're able to go ahead and to be able to send a 611 letter to the credit reporting agencies, to the big 3, getting them to challenge these items. There are different strategies on how to do. Some people send out generic letters to the credit bureaus in the beginning. Some people go slowly and only submit 1 or 2 things at a time, specifically stating these dates are wrong on my credit profile, and challenge it that way. Once you have those items and you send them off to the big 3 credit reporting agencies, they have 30 days, a little over 30 days actually, to be able to verify that that information is correct. And always remember, anything that we're sending out to the credit reporting agencies, we want to send out USPS certified mail for our own personal records. We want our own way to verify and keep up with the timeline of when we send out the challenges, when we send out the disputes, because you may be able to get your credit profile cleaned up with sending out maybe 1 or 2 rounds of disputes that may happen. I've seen people that take 6 months, 8 months in order to get something off of their credit report. If someone is guaranteeing you that they're able to get something off all 3 of your credit reports in like days, they can guarantee it in 2 weeks, I will be highly suspect of them. So it may take several months, it may take 6 months, it may take even longer than that to go ahead and dispute with the credit bureaus. Now, because charge-offs are different than third-party collection companies, the strategy is a little bit different. If this was a third-party collection company, there are ways where we can send out a validation letter, and that is a strategy that we can use for it to get removed. But because we're dealing with, for this example, Capital One, they are the original creditor, it's a little bit trickier to go back to Capital One and say, hey, prove that this account is mine. Hey, Capital One, prove that I owe you money. It's a little bit tricky to do that with the original person. So my recommendation from my experience going through the credit bureaus, looking for the discrepancies, looking for inaccuracies, keeping up with your dates, keeping up with when you sent it out, seeing if they are responding to you in a timely manner. If you can keep your paper trail, if you can keep your items intact, you may be able to now sue the credit reporting agencies for not being able to update or delete in a timely fashion, and that is $1,000 per violation. So you may not want to go through the entire process, but those are the rights you and I are given under the FCRA guidelines. If they are not taking care of these items, if they are ignoring you, you may be able to sue. But again, keep this in mind as well. That's a two-way street. If you actually owe that creditor, so again, for this example, let's say we owe Capital One. Before you start trying to dispute anything, I will highly recommend that you pay attention to the statutes of limitations for your particular state. Some states is 3 years, some states is 5 years, some states is 7 years, some states is 10 years. If you try to go ahead and dispute with a collection company or with the original creditor, saying things like this isn't mine, or verify this or validate this, if you try to do that with the creditor, they may be able to go ahead and sue you as well, depending on a lot of different variables, but they do have the right to be able to sue you. So I just want you to pay attention to this. This isn't to scare you. I'm just giving you the entire playbook, but it's really my job on this channel to show you the entire 360 perspective so you know what it is that you're getting into. Okay, so that was the disputes. Pay attention to the statutes of limitations in your particular state. Print out your credit report, highlight all of your derogatory items, and look out for anything that may not be accurate. That is going to be the fuel that you can use to take these accounts off of your credit profile. So now, what is the third option? And that is to pay or to settle with the original creditor. Again, that may not be the sexiest piece of advice, I understand that, but you have to be very honest with what it is that you're trying to do. You may be trying to acquire funding for your business. You may be trying to acquire a home for your family to live in. You need to pay attention to, before you do anything, before you download any of my PDFs, before you try to go and click on YouTube links, you need to look in the mirror and figure out what it is that you're trying to do and accomplish. What is the timeline? What is your realistic timeline? And then once you have that decided, you can basically reverse engineer your strategy from the beginning. If you're somebody that is pressed for time, you may not have the time or the ability or the luxury to take 3, 4, 5 months to be sending out dispute letters. If your loan officer or if your mortgage broker is telling you that you need to take care of this particular account, you may just have to pick your battles. If the amount of the charge-off is relatively low, you may just want to try to do a pay for delete and just get that off your credit profile. Depending on what your goal is, and I'm on YouTube, so I don't know what everyone's goal is, but you need to pay attention to what your goal is first and then come up with your strategy. There really is not a sensible one size fits all. We can try to use some strategy. We can all use what 609 and 611 under FCRA says, but everyone has different goals and everyone has different timelines. And one last thing as well, when it comes to having a charge off, remember, we went out and we took the loan. We applied for that credit card. So that means we actually owe these financial institutions. Let's say you're able to send out these letters and get them off of your credit profile. Kudos, you did that. Pay attention to the fact that a lot of times these financial institutions, if you've burnt them, let's say you've done a bankruptcy, or let's say you did a charge off, you never went back and made that relationship whole, it's going to be a lot harder to be able to go back to that financial institution and get a loan and get a credit card. So you may be able to get these things off of your account. But if you're somebody like me that's trying to build relationships with a whole lot of different credit unions and big banks, if you're burning bridges with financial institutions like Chase and you're not able to get their Chase trifecta, if you're burning bridges with American Express, there was someone else in one of my YouTube comments that said he was blacklisted from Navy Federal. Navy Federal has tons of great products. I've done several videos about them on my channel. It may just be better to go ahead, do the disputes, because your credit profile is the highest priority. But even if you're able to get that off your credit profile, it may make more sense to still go back, if you're able to, and make that relationship, make that partnership, make that debt whole, and that way you're able to start getting those big products again with them. Me personally, I don't want to end my relationship with Navy Federal because I wanted to skip out on a $1,500 credit card bill. I wouldn't want to do that. I would rather just take care of that, pay it off, and then go try to get more of their $20,000, $30,000 credit card limits. That's just my opinion. Also too, as another disclaimer, if this account has been charged off, or even with collections, for example, if this account has been charged off and you do contact the original creditor and you start trying to come back into a payment agreement with them, and then you get back on the internet and you realize, oh, I could dispute, oh, I just found out about 611, oh, I should have sent this to the credit bureaus first. The fact that you re-engaged with that original creditor has reset the date of last activity again, and that's not really going to be good for your credit profile. So in conclusion, as we recap this, what is the moral of the story? Figure out what your goal is, figure out what your timeline is. And also too, before you even start sending anything up to the credit bureaus, make sure that you're cleaning up your credit profiles. Make sure that you only have one name, one address, one employer. Make sure that your credit profile is clean before you do anything with the credit bureaus and you're asking them to validate anything. And you also want to make sure that as you're trying to challenge these items, as you're trying to remove these derogatory items, that you are building positive trade lines as well. I have videos on Credit Strong, I have videos on secure loans, self, shopping cart trick, to discover it. Make sure as you're trying to remove the bad items that at the same time you're adding positive primary trade lines as well, because again, this is not going to be an overnight process. This is going to take time. This is going to take some patience. But if you do everything in the right way, if you do everything in the proper way it needs to be done, you will see results in a matter of months. So that is the end of the video. I hope you got some jewels out of it. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you haven't already, and go ahead in the comments, let me know your thoughts, and I'll check you out in the next video. Peace.